Let's go straight to from our correspondent. And Ajwa Tinkrama is bringing us a report on how waste pollution is threatening the survival of crucial water bodies in Accra.
Today in Ghana, the conversation about protecting our water bodies has come up again, particularly because of illegal mining and its impact on the environment. But where there is no gold or bauxite to mine, what other forms of destruction are these water bodies faced with? I'm currently standing at the Chemu Lagoon, one of the 3 lagoons in the Greater Accra region. Now, this area, we understand, if you came here a few years ago, about 20, 30 years ago, you would actually have found water where I'm standing. But today, what do you see? Chemical waste disposal, untreated sewage from households, and refuse. You can also see behind me high levels of encroachment. But what is being done to protect this water source? Come with me into the community as we explore the state of the lagoon and what stakeholders think can be done to tackle this problem. As we traveled along the banks of the Chemu Lagoon, we were greeted by open defecation, high levels of waste disposal, and encroachment. The lagoon, which once flowed with clean, clear water, is now nearly non-existent, with large areas dried up and heaps of refuse covering much of the wetland. Over the past few years, this area has become a settlement for migrants, with businesses like fish smoking emerging. Approximately 100 women have established a community here, some of whom relocate depending on the fishing season. Faith Mensah, a fish smoker who has worked here for 8 years, expressed her concerns about the encroachment of the Chemu Lagoon. She knows that they have nowhere else to go and feels compelled to stay. Faith recalls that when they first moved here, the lagoon covered the area where they work now, underscoring the detrimental impact of encroachment.
Na fi so mo san so pamenyen akobebi se yin bebi a omo ne no kobiem nti na se ye mpene se ye be ko no se po na e bush nko a na ye nsuo nko a na wa ha se uba ha se ya ye ndua ene ade na wa ha se so ye nimpa na ye de yensa esesia ha ma ha atumi aye asase etumi aye se se ben so mo baje asase na yenfa na yankobiem.
Another troubling sight was women smoking fish amid heaps of improperly disposed refuse. Monica Obiniwa, the leader of the fish smokers, explained that they keep the refuse close to fill the land and prevent flooding during heavy rains.
When they fail it, you shut down the failure assassin, and no cost, you shut down the go. Where you fail last year, I'm failing this year. But in soon to amphibians, so to I conform, Tiatas was not failing. Oh, failure on to me, time, we are best say 10 and I say 7 because no boy name. I'm not triple back. Ebo honma last year dia meto ese ba ko bia 12 million meto 4 we no ball na kakra gu ase ansan na timi atopo na abasoro nti we ye be hye ye di ja betum ahye nti wo de hye ana chese no na abasoro kakra nti wo de anwa no gu so a na hye no na hye asase no na nkrofo hye da so ball afifie de be gu lagoon no se wo be se wo hwe ya omo be siesie fiti la be se botum nsia mu ni. But Thomas had the ball a good adena sa de koda bia metwa mu pa mekata.
In April this year, the Ghana Statistical Service reported that 250,000 households in Ghana dispose of solid waste through indiscriminate dumping, highlighting the severity of improper waste disposal in the country. Just a few steps from where fish smoking activities are ongoing along the Chemu, there is a massive dump site encroaching on the remaining portions of the lagoon. Where I'm currently standing looks like a dumping site, but a few years ago we understand this was part of the pathway of the Chemu Lagoon. Water was filled in this area. When you look behind me, you see some weeds, you see a lot of things have happened here. A lot of things including encroachments, refuse dumping, industrial sewage that comes right into this lagoon that used to be a habitat for thousands of birds, that used to be habitat for fishes, crabs, among others. I'm joined here by a member of the Traditional Council who will just walk us through what we are seeing now and what this lagoon was like before.
Yeah, so there's a particular joint here where the Chemu Lagoon connects with the sea. And because of the establishment of the firms here, they realized that this is an opportunity where they can use as a conduit for their wastewater. So you have Pioneer Food Cannery, Nesto Ghana Limited, Cocoa Bot, a whole lot of the firms in Tema. They use this very conduit here, the Chemu Lagoon, to, dislodge, let me say, their wastewater. So because of the chemicals that were actually getting in contact with the Chemu Lagoon, those fishes and then those crabs have actually relocated to places which we don't know. And now currently looking at this place is serving as a place of abode for some other travelers. Probably 10 years, 15 years from now, I don't think there would even be a Chemu Lagoon, because look at the way they have filled all the way from that side. Now this place is a land. Probably 10 years from now, look at where we are heading to. Let's take Sakumo as well. So personally, I, as a son from the coastal belt who believes in tradition and culture as well, I feel very, very painful.
The situation at Sakumo Lagoon is somewhat better. However, it also faces high levels of waste disposal, encroachment, and other human activities threatening the existence of this Ramsar site.
To enter into the sea, and as you can see, the surface is completely dried up. It has been taken over by filth. Let me try and enter and see what's going on in there. So you can find rubbish scattered all over across. You can see bottles, you can see sanitizers even. The irony. Essentially, this area has been blocked not just by the Sea Defense Project, but a heap of rubbish in this culvert, which, if this lagoon was up to this level to travel into the sea, would have meant that we are entering the sea, or we are pushing more rubbish, more pollution into our sea. So this is the current state of the Sakumo Lagoon.
As the sun sets over Sakumo Lagoon, we observe fishermen trying their luck. One of them, who agreed to speak on record, urged the government to implement measures to safeguard the lagoons and protect their livelihoods.
Because I did because I know I to me, and I'm not to me, Nabi, I did to show me a bit my day, and I fast super.
Climate change poses several worrying impacts on water bodies, including drought and flooding. Experts are concerned that these issues, combined with significant pollution and encroachment on the capital's essential water bodies, present a substantial risk to the country's survival. A researcher at the University of Ghana advocates for a multifaceted approach to tackle this menace.
If we keep on polluting our lagoons in the same manner, like business as usual, we would get to a point where there would be no resource within those lagoons for us. There would be no fishes, because these chemicals impact on the growth of the fish. It impacts on their, fingerlings, because they use some of these lagoons as their breeding grounds. So if we keep on polluting, we will dwindle all the fish resources in our lagoons. We need to provide our institutions with the resources to enforce some of the policies and laws that we put in place.
Youth spokesperson of the Tema Traditional Council, Henry Oko Oninku, urges the government to revisit plans to compel industries located around the Chemu Lagoon to establish treatment plants to properly dispose of their waste, thereby reducing pollution levels in the lagoon.
The Assembly, the Traditional Council, the various ministries that has been given constitutional mandates as far as these things are concerned should take the law, make it a bit effective. Until then, we'll definitely see it the way it is. Yeah.
Just imagine the damage we are doing to our sea, our marine and aquatic life. A few years to come, if we do not crack the whip on the people causing this damage, we may be doing our environment and our human bodies more harm. Reporting for Channel One News, my name is Ajwa.
Wow. So after those rather distressing scenes we saw in the report by my colleague Ajwa Tinkrama, she joins us in studio to delve further into a rather distressing and really devastating act where all of our water bodies is literally under siege. We understand from people in academia that close to 60% of our water resources is in a critical state. Of course, there's galamsey playing a role, but there's also the issue of indiscriminate pollution, really, and that is something that we need to really pay attention to. Ajwa, welcome to Sunday Breakfast.
Thank you, Jude. It's a pleasure being here.
It has to be a pleasure.
Oh, yes.
It has to be a pleasure.
Not because of you, though. But yes,
you won't admit it, but we won't know. But that's fine. I'll let Eno take the floor.
You guys are doing a great job, I must.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
So are you. So are you, really. I saw you enter the tunnel. I'm like, hey, Charlie.
How was the feeling after you came out of the tunnel? And how many times did you take that?
I did about 5 takes because I'll go inside and I'll come. The stench that will greet me.
No, it's you.
No.
You can feel it.
I can't talk. So for a few seconds, I can't talk. I'm just standing there. So we have to go back and start the thing again. It was terrible. Wow. But we had to enter to just paint the right picture to all of us. Yeah. So like I said in the report, when you go to Chemu versus Sakumo, the difference is stark. The Chemu is incredible, the level of pollution that is there. That was the first part of the report. Then the Sakumo was the latter part. You find some filth, some littering there, some pollution there, but it wasn't as massive as what we saw there. So we needed to see exactly what was happening at the Sakumo. So the culverts that the lagoon is supposed to enter into the sea, yes. So we had to enter and look at all what is happening in there. But what we saw was that there was a sea defense project.
Okay.
So that was protecting the pollution that would have ordinarily entered into the sea. So that's a better part of the whole conversation. But still, there was a drastic amount of pollution inside the culverts that we have to crack the whip on. So that's for Sakumo.
Talk to us about what you saw there, the filth. What were some of the, because I see a lot of rubber there. Yeah. But what else did you see?
So I saw mattresses. I saw shoes. I saw hand sanitizer, and I was talking about the irony because this is a place that has so much filth. You see sanitizer. You see people have deliberately carried refuse to put there. You see plastic. The plastic was much. You see a lot of plastic. You see food. So solid waste. You see bottles. There were so many things that I can't even remember.
People engaging in open defecation.
Yes. So for Sakumo, it was strange because we saw a very old person taking his bath there.
Wow. On the dumps at the dump site.
On the bridge. So if you've gone to Sakumo before, you see that there's a bridge where the culverts are. So he was standing on the bridge, but when we got closer, he moved because he definitely knew what he was doing was not good. So he moved from there. So the pollution at Chemu, like I was saying, when you go there, open defecation is a norm. And I sought to understand why. And if you care to know, they have a toilet facility.
They choose not to use it.
They choose not to use it. They choose not to use it. They would just prefer the local air condition that will blow when they are taking
somebody told me that the feeling when you do open defecation to using a toilet are two completely different things, and so that's why they would choose to do open defecation and use the toilet.
And I'm told you just have to pay 1 Ghana cedis to use the toilet facility,
but we get to see the state of the toilet. Maybe that could also.
It was not in a good state.
It
was not in a good state. But what do we do then? Do we not involve the assembly, the people who are supposed to, build some of these facilities? Let them do it. Let's use the proper channels instead of using the water bodies. Because you see, and for a very long time now, we've been talking about galamsey and its impact on on our water bodies, on our survival as humans. But what we are not talking about is even the lagoons that we have in the capital, and the level of devastation, the level of pollution we are exposing these water bodies to. Henry, who is a youth leader there, was talking about the fact that in about 10 years to come, you will not find any Chemu Lagoon. And I beg to differ. I think that it will even be lesser than 10 years.
10 years. Yeah, because, you know, in a well-functioning society, that could have been developed so much that it could have been an alternative source of livelihood for people in the area.
Exactly.
In that they could fish on the lagoon, it could have been a recreational space. So we just fail to take advantage of its enormous potential. But I mean, back to your report, Adjoa, quite distressing for me was your interview with the lady who said that she smoked fish close to the dump site, if not at the dump site. I mean, what was going through your mind when she said that to you? Because these are the same food stuff that come on our markets.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So when we entered the settlement, we were shocked. For us, we thought that, and I went with Kamaru, who was my cameraman at Chimo.
Yeah.
When we entered, we saw the open defecation, we saw the pollution along the Chimo. We thought that was it. But we were in for a shocker because we entered into the settlements, and these are illegal settlements, by the way. So we entered, and then we saw that women were smoking fish. And just like where you were sitting and where I am, you see refuse piled up there. You see flies. It was terrible.
And there's no place of convenience for them. So they'll probably do that close to the dump site and come back like business as usual.
And you know the funniest part of it is that when you walk a few steps away from all that fish smoking activities, the dump site that greets you is huge, it's massive. It's like a deliberate attempt to, say that this is a designated dump site, but it wasn't. And the women tell me that they are putting the refuse by them so that they can fill the land, so that when it rains, it won't flood and all of that.
Incredible. What's even the science behind it?
I was shocked. I was shocked. But what she explained was that usually they have to buy sand to fill the land because this is not supposed to be a human settlement. This is supposed to be the pathway of the Chimo. Now, over the years, people have encroached upon it and built upon it. And so when it rains, it gets to a certain level, it will definitely flood. So they are trying to prevent the flooding. And so they will put the refuse there just to raise the level of the land they want to operate with. So that's exactly what they do. But my problem was, why must it be where you're smoking fish? Because people are consuming this fish. And for me, it's scary because I don't know where I'm going to buy this fish from.
Exactly.
Like I was saying. So I get the sense that it's a local governance or government problem that is fast becoming a health crisis, an environmental crisis, and possibly it's shocking for me.
Were you, I mean, I'm sure you tried to contact authorities. Any excuse from them, anything they said to you?
So one thing I'm grateful for to Vivian, who is our boss, is that whenever she gives you some of these challenging assignments, she would map out all the things that you can do to make it, 360. So we looked at all these things. We looked at the assembly. We looked at opinion leaders, the traditional authority, and all the people who can join the conversation or make our report full and comprehensive. We tried reaching the Metropolitan Assembly several times. I placed several calls to the mayor. He will not pay. You send him messages, he will not answer. I even went a step further to ask one of my colleagues who was closer to him at some point to, get an interview for us, but that did not happen as well. So our best bet was to resort to the traditional authority, who also have some level of authority in that area. So they gave us a youth spokesperson, and he was the one who toured the whole area with us. And he says that there has been a lot of efforts, even from the traditional authority, to get the assembly to act on what is happening. So for instance, the industries that surround the Chimo, they usually let their sewage through the Chimo, which is causing considerable damage to the water body. And so they initially put together a policy that you have to build a plant so that you can silt through or you can filter your sewage and you can still use it to pass through the Chemu. Because what we are not realizing is that the Chemu has an estuary and it goes directly into the sea. Right. And that's the thing about these lagoons. They always link to the sea. So whatever pollution we are putting in the lagoons are ending up in the bigger water body, the sea. So he says that a lot of efforts have been made, but the industries are not complying one. Now he says that if nothing is done, in a few weeks to come, the youth are going to mobilize themselves and try and sack some of the people who have encroached upon the Chemu and try and do cleanup exercises at least to make the situation a bit better.
I saw some fishermen casting their nets, and I'm sure you had a conversation with them. Were those fingerlings they caught, or that's the size of the fish in the Chemu?
So that's the size. So that was a sakumo.
Okay,
and that was the size of the fish they got at that time. But they tell me that this is a place that they have depended on for fishing for a very long time. And it's in season. Sometimes when you come, you can catch bigger fishes and all of that. But they also are aware of the considerable damage the pollution is having on the ecosystem, and they are urging the government to do something. So we met about 4 fishermen. The only one of them agreed to speak on record. And he says that, look, it's not just about Galamsey. Yes, Galamsey is devastating us incredibly, but we have to look close to home. We have to look at where it's starting from. Even the lagoons that local communities are relying on, they are being subjected to considerable amount of pollution. And if we do not take care, look, some of these lagoons are habitat to thousands of bird species.
Yeah.
True.
Plant species.
Some for even research purposes.
Exactly. So the damage we are doing, it will come back to bite us, and in a hard way. Maybe not even for future generations, but even now.
In our very lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. We suffer the consequences.
Like I was saying, it's a health crisis unfolding right before our eyes, right? It's also an environmental crisis. And I mean, I do a good job done, because we've seen developed countries or developed societies where they take this same waste that is being produced and convert into other forms of energy, like electricity, like heat, fuels really, right? Even so, the point is that we are lacking behind.
Exactly.
I don't know. You engaged a lecturer at the University of Ghana,
I did.
and she professed some solutions to. Maybe you can just share some few insights into what she discussed with you, then we can wrap it up. But for me, I think, Charlie, we are slacking really.
Yeah, so Millicent essentially was talking about government agencies cracking the whip, and it boils down to what all the other stakeholders who participate in the report have been talking about. So you can, for instance, find people who are dumping refuse around these lagoons. You can charge these industries who are polluting deliberately. You can
discharging
discharging their sewage into the lagoons. You can put in place a task force to go about. So she was talking about town council. When we were kids, we used to have tankers and all of that going about and showing that
quite effective.
It was effective. So she was asking that if we could go back to it, because her research was on the Odo River. And you know the Odo River connects somewhat to the Kole.
I've gone there. I've done the work on the garage project, and I've been there before.
Exactly.
The cows were watching my face. Like I was also watching the cows. Like I told you, after that particular project, I had to discard my shoes because some of the things I stepped in, I couldn't have been the same again if I wore the shoes again.
So let me just tell you one thing she found. She said that when you fetch a liter of the Odo, you find not less than 40 counts of microplastics in it. And that's the highest anywhere. So usually they anticipate single digits, so maybe 8 counts or 10 counts, but to have 40 counts, and these microplastics are entering our fishes. The water, some of them are fetching them to water the vegetables we buy from the market. And she says the end goal, the end result really is that we are exposing ourselves to cancers.
Charlie, you
see, so yes, she has preferred a lot of solutions, but the duty bearers heed to
it, yeah. And in all of this, you get the sense that there's that lack of urgency on the part of local governments to address it. Like I was saying, it's a local government problem. It's a health problem. I want to hear from the Ministry of Health on how they intend to safeguard the populace around. Because
sanitation.
Yes, sanitation, true. That was what I was struggling to remember. Because we are just one major disease breakouts from just having our health system collapse. Already we are struggling to deal with non-communicable diseases like we're talking about prior to your coming. So
there's some contributions from our viewers here. One
Great.
says, do we have a sanitation minister, and does he know about what is happening at the lagoon? And this one says, if you go to the shores of Cape Coast and Elmina, you will lose respect for Ghanaians like I have. When you go to Cape Coast and Elmina, you'll find people doing open defecation while tourists are walking around. I have some videos, but did not post it on social media for the damage it will do to the image of Ghana in the eyes of the world. In Elmina, the government has constructed a public washroom that is more beautiful than most of the houses in my hometown, but the people still choose to do open defecation. In some towns on the coast, even public washrooms are free. But still, people prefer to
it's also a mindset problem.
Yeah.
See, a lot of the problems we
the
deal
air
with in this
conditioning
country
on the beach is different from the one in the washrooms.
See, let's work on the mindset. A lot of, even Galamsey, it's a mindset problem. To think that you are better off destroying your water body and your land, your farms, sometimes cocoa farms over 30 years just because of some 10,000 Ghana cedis or 20,000 Ghana cedis at the moment. It's a mindset problem.
I think it's also an issue of lack of understanding of the importance of these
education
resources. Exactly. Education has to come in strongly, because when you go there, the women who were encroaching and are smoking fish, they don't even know that it's a problem, that the encroachment they're engaged is a problem. They think that this is a land that we have captured, so they should allow us to stay on it. And they even have a problem when the local authorities come and say that, no, this is a place you cannot stay, so you have to move.
Mindset, Charlie, mindset is everything. If the people start thinking right, a lot of things will change. And we see it in almost every facet of our lives.
When we are in Ghana, we do our own thing. But the minute we leave the soils of our country and go otherwhere, we follow what they're doing. Don't litter, we will not litter. Do not do this, we will not do it. But when we come back to Ghana, now back to settle.
Let me just add this one thing. And you know, Ghana is signatory to a lot of UN conventions.
Even the Ramsar Site Convention,
1971. Even the SDGs, we have about 4 of them that borders on water bodies and why we have to protect it. We have our leaders going out there. They attend some of these climate conferences.
They've gone for every COP since I started.
We signed something at the COP.
We signed agreements to protect our water bodies. You know, to restore biodiversity, to make sure that we are protecting life sources, we are protecting the climate, we are protecting our cities. But we come back and we just sit down and then we watch all this distraction going on.
Back to factory sector.
This message says, thank you, ChannelOne TV and your reporter for putting the spotlight on this really devastating issue happening. I can't fathom why Ghanaian politicians are not paying attention to this present situation. Even Galamsey, look at what they are doing. May God help Ghana. Yeah, true. May God help us.
Yeah, help us.
But we have to help ourselves too.
Charlie. May I say that we have to go back to the conversation of voting for our assembly people. The MMDAs, if you vote for them and they are not performing, Charlie, for last them, just sack them from the place and then vote for another person to
a lot starts local, right? So if we get our local assemblies functioning, so it builds up, right? So when the local assemblies are functioning, they know that then they can now hold other people higher up the chain responsible up onto the top. But if people are looking on while people discard refuse anywhere, to be fair, you can't go and hold the president or somebody else responsible, even though they have the overbearing responsibility or the back sort of stops with them. Somebody mentioned the sanitation minister. She would rather want to go and do a photo op with bus stop boys who are some random guys.
Those guys are doing amazing.
Fantastic guys, than putting the requisite systems really to check our sanitation problem, and we'll go on and on and on. But Adjoa, thank you so much for this work.
That was an amazing report. Thank you so much. You know how Adjoa mentions her name? Adjoa Tinkrama Domina.
Actually, no, mention it.
We have to stress the syllables. Adjoa
Tinkrama Domina.
Charlie, where's my bell? I have to ring a bell. because the Adwa has spoken.
Yeah,
Incredible.
Adwa, thank you so much. That was a
Thank you for
fantastic
having
report
me.
shedding
Thank
light on water bodies. We'll be right back after this. We'll go back to talking about our heart health. Do stay.